Chapter 137. I did not expect it to be this damn difficult to find a dragon. It's like they don't want to be murdered, or something. How long have we been out here again, Nora? I ask, my tentacles flicking outward to intercept a furious swarm of disintegration wasps, which are basically like normal wasps, except their bites inject some kind of magically charged chemical that rapidly dissolves everything in a cubic foot around the application site. Just over a 10-day, I think, she answers. We should probably head back soon. But we haven't even seen a dragon. I whine. I thought the deep forest is supposed to be where dragons live. I mean, it is. The deep forest is just a big place. I whip her around behind me to block a few shots from the leech spitter that's been harassing me, slurping up the souls of its ill-fated projectiles. Those things launch their own babies at their enemies, apparently, which then devour the target from the inside. They'll stick around when the host dies and end up in the belly of any scavengers dumb enough to swallow them. Once they've eaten enough, they kill their current victim and start a metamorphosis into the weird, round-bodied, thin-legged, tree-climbing. Fuck, I don't even know. It's like a taper monkey that shoots children out of its nose. It's gross. You think if a Vrothizo ate that thing, they'd be able to vomit high-speed larks at people? I wonder. Oh Watcher, what kind of question is that? Nora complains, twisting up and somehow managing to glower at me without a phase. Come on, Vita. That's disturbing even for you. I smirk at her, flicking my wrist to get her to retract her chain before leaping upwards, driving her blade into a nearby tree, and yanking myself up even further. The leech spitter jumps out of my range, but not before some of its projectiles hit what's left of the disintegration wasp swarm, a mistake that will not end well for the poor baby blaster. Nora is, of course, a scythe. Or more accurately, a scythe revenant made almost entirely out of Vrothizo bone. Designed by Margaret to be both an awesome weapon and a viable body for an undead, the blade is made from a huge, curved Vrothizo tooth, cut to be double-edged and fully capable of imbuing itself with the Vrothizo's classic cut-anything properties whenever Nora wills it. A second, spur-tip-like tooth juts out the top as well, so my friend can be used for stabbing. The shaft of the weapon is a foot taller than I am, and it's also hollow. Inside is a chain, allowing Nora to detach her blade from the shaft and extend it however she pleases. It moves under soul power, so it doesn't matter that I don't have the slightest fucking clue how to use a chain weapon. Nora simply bends her body however she likes, fighting on my behalf whenever it's most efficient. And that's just the basic structure of her body. Metal pulled from the sort of skyhope, or what I didn't eat of it, anyway, is also installed in various places, giving her a multitude of passive enchantments like the Kinemancy one that lets her speak. And obviously, since she's Nora, she can still imbue herself as well as any non-living thing on my person with her talent, rendering the pair of us functionally invincible. Yeah, Nora's pretty fucking awesome. I didn't think it was that disturbing, I argue, hopping across the thick tree branches to where the wasps are currently removing the leech spitter's flesh from existence. It just sounds funny to me. And kind of cute. You think a Vrothizo that could launch entire other Vrothizo at people would be cute, Nora summarizes incredulously. I thought Vrothizo freaked you out in a big way? Eh, they used to, but they are not really much of a threat anymore, I answer, shrugging. It's like little disciples, you know? They certainly scared me back on our first mission, but now they're like free food. Not really intimidating. So I get to focus on their good qualities instead. I guess that makes sense? Nora admits. What exactly are a Vrothizo's good qualities? Eh? I shrug, nabbing the leech spitter soul and slurping it down. Animivores are kind of spooky, but I also feel a certain kinship with them. Why no? It's like, whatever I am, it feels like it's a lot closer to a Vrothizo than it is to a human. Vita. Nora says sadly, even with this lich stuff going on, haven't you always been human? You certainly qualify as human in my book. My body is human, I correct her. I am not my body. Resting her on my shoulder, I hop back down to ground level, feeling outward with my senses to try and decide where to go. I suppose if it's been over a 10-day we should go back to the camp, as much as I don't really want to. There's so many responsibilities there. I'll be devastated if I find out that anyone is going hungry under my care, and that's the easiest problem that needs dealing with. I don't even know how to start dealing with the rest of them, though. I don't want to deal with them. Yet I don't want to be nothing more than a predator and parasite either. I don't want to give in to my urge to avoid effort. So regretfully, I turn to head out of the deep forest and start the journey back to camp. It's a long walk back, one that's probably going to take most if not all of the day, but I've never had much of a problem dealing with boredom. At least there's nice scenery to look at. It's a big upgrade from my cell. I'm glad we could come out here together, I say after nearly an hour. It's been really nice actually talking to you. Nora extends her chain, wrapping around me and giving me a light squeeze. Even the chain is made from the same Vrothizos bones as the rest of her body, so naturally it's completely jet black. The feeling is mutual, partner, she agrees. I was always happy to listen to you from time to time, but it's been jarring constantly moving between bodies and hibernation. I've definitely got to thank. What's her name? Margaret? I've got to thank Margaret again for making this for me. Being able to talk is super cool. Yeah, Margaret is super cool, I agree. You, adjusting to being a scythe okay. I imagine it must be weird. It's a little weird, Nora confirms, wiggling around a little. But it's also pretty awesome. I mean, we fought Remus. We kicked his ass. I parried the Sword of Skyhope. And that was back when I was just a dumb farming tool, not this sweet-ass magical custom war scythe that can fly and cut through souls. I sense her intent to show off a little, so I let go of her handle and watch her zip around through the air using the kineticism spells carved from metal on the inside of her shaft. I smile, soaking in the genuine joy she exudes as she whips through the air, ripping through foliage like it's water. She really does seem to be happy like this, which is surprising enough to be a concern. How much of, being okay with all this is the fact that you're a revenant, do you think? I ask. She slows and I catch her out of the air, her chain draping over my shoulders as she settles down. If I'm being honest? She answers after a while. Probably most of it. Everything is just way less stressful than I'd expect it to be. Like, I know intellectually that my mom has thought I'm dead for the past 2 years. I know that any of my friends would freak the fuck out and probably try to destroy me if they saw me. I know that I would have considered myself an abomination before this. But those things are all just distant? And I get that's weird, but I also can't imagine any way that freaking out about them would make my life better. Things are just nice like this. I'm content. Especially since I get to keep this body rather than being constantly swapped around into whatever you happen to have nearby. I wince. Sorry about that. I didn't have many opportunities to talk to you in prison, and things have been a bit crazy. Yeah. I get it, Nora sighs. I can't believe how wrong I was about the Templars. Ugh. Well. They didn't kill me at least, I mutter. You were right about that. Might have been funny if they did, though, Nora chuckles. What could you have done with Kashia the Maelstrom's body? Depends on if I get her talent or not, I guess. I shrug. I probably don't, though. Not unless I keep someone's soul intact while I possess them somehow, or like, merge their soul with mine? And that all seems like it'd have its own problems. I guess that's true, Nora concedes, and the two of us fall back into silence. We're attacked a few more times over the next couple hours, but not by anything noteworthy. I haven't made a risen since the start of this trip. I want a dragon or nothing. The problem, of course, is that I don't have any idea what a dragon soul actually looks like. My sensory range is so long that I wouldn't be surprised if I've sensed a bunch of them over the past few days, but I've never gotten close enough to the vast majority of the powerful souls I've detected to actually know what they are. It has been a bit frustrating. Also frustrating is the increased progression of my still mutating body. I've been eating a lot more food lately than I had been in prison, both physical and anima. The result seems to be causing me to grow new unwanted bits a lot faster. I now have a second, fully formed flesh tentacle growing out of the side of my torso, anchored between my waist and rib cage. I've also grown a new eye on one of my biceps and the opposite calf. It's getting seriously excessive. I hate it. And yet, presumably some part of my magic is doing this to me. Why? Can't I direct it? Change it? I suppose even if so, I wouldn't know what to do with the power to grow tentacles and eyeballs. Can't I make it stop? I feel like if I could, it would have happened by now. Plus, this is probably the same magic that's making the changes to my body that I actually do like. Which is to say, the practical ones that make my bones super sturdy and stuff like that. Despite all my complaining, having a skull that can withstand dragon-slaying explosions is pretty fucking worth all the annoying extra additions. I remain lost in thoughts like that until I'm suddenly jolted out of it by the sound of a horrifying screech. Which isn't that weird in the deep forest, honestly. Horrifying things screech here all the damn time. I recognize this particular screech, though. I've heard it 2 other times recently, each louder than the last, so I'm probably being followed. I mentally start tagging off the relevant souls nearby, trying to figure out if any actually dangerous ones are currently heading towards me. Sure enough, one is. Well, that's neat. Everything okay? Nora asks, having noticed me stop walking. We got some prey serving itself up, is all, I answer nonchalantly. And not a Vrothizo, for once. Oh, fun. I'm not 100% sure it will be, I admit, limbering up my hand by giving Nora a quick spin. Feels like it might be a weird wide. Unlike the ones in Skyhope that were made of dozens upon dozens of shards, this one feels more like a bunch of mostly to completely intact souls vaguely squashed together like someone left a bunch of caramel candies out too close to a fire. I can actually recognize a good chunk of the souls as belonging to various forest denizens, along with what I'm fairly certain on close inspection are no less than 3 human souls. Well, maybe they were human souls. I don't think they are now. Yeah, I don't think this is gonna be fun at all, I sigh, lowering myself into a combat stance. Play serious, Nora. Yes ma'am. She barks, pulling her chain taut and locking her blade into place. The abominable melted soul pile is heading towards us at a pretty rapid clip, but once it gets within half a mile of us it really starts to accelerate, its screech sounding out again and raising higher and higher in pitch as it approaches us at more and more rapid a pace. Just 10 seconds later, it's nearly on top of us. 5, 4, 3. I call out, using the same method I alerted my team to approaching monsters as I did when I was a hunter. 2, 1, 0. I'm already jumping out of the way when a thin line of gold rips through a tree to impale the ground where I had just been standing. It's less than half an inch thick but well over 20 yards long, judging by the width of the tree it just stabbed through to reach me. The golden color is strangely familiar, but only when I realize it's liquid do I recognize what it is. Ozoid. I call out. It's an animavo. Before I can finish speaking, the thin spear of golden goo suddenly flattens, expanding parallel to the ground in a rapid flash that completely bisects the giant tree from the inside and nearly does the same to my legs. I leap upwards, Nora extending to grab a different tree and pull me upwards moments before it gets sliced through as well. I thought ozoids were supposed to be like slow-moving scavengers. Nora squeaks. I mean, normally, they are. I confirm. This one just bit off a lot more than it could chew. A bunch of times, by the looks of it. Doesn't that phrase normally mean you get fucked up? Not that you become super fast and strong? Well, I explain patiently, we animivores have a slightly different relationship with food than the rest of you. While Nora and I bicker, the golden cutting plane below us snaps back together, forming a single, rapidly shifting massive ooze only slightly larger than a person. It immediately starts to scream, a cacophony of discordant noise created by half a dozen separate sounds working in tandem. 3 of those sounds are human voices, shrieking "Save me, kill us, and die," all at the same time. Hey, This thing has nearly as much social aptitude as you do, Vita, Nora snirks, and I glower at her with a few of my eyes that aren't doing anything else. Unfortunately, I don't have time to formulate a witty response, because the Ozoid White decides to stop screaming and extend 4 more ultra-fast spears made from its own body in our direction. I try to dodge out of the way, but the liquid spears immediately make a sharp turn to follow me, smacking into my greaves and hitting hard enough to knock me silly as they ricochet off of the invincible armor. I manage to turn my flailing tumble into somewhat of a roll as Nora yanks me up a tree again, the spears converging nearby to reform the screaming ooze mass. Before I can even finish processing this freakish movement method, the Ozoid launches itself at me again. I'm a bit more ready for it this time, though, and track where its soul is stored during the attack, thrusting my tendrils that way in order to intercept. Unfortunately, the moment they permeate the Ozoid's body, I feel them start to get devoured, and I pull back, yelping in pain. Then I am, of course, slammed in the chest by all 4 slime spears, which causes me to fly backwards and slam into a tree. Then the tree explodes. Thanks to Nora's talent, my armor is functionally invincible. That is to say, it cannot be bent, broken, scratched, pierced, corroded, or otherwise damaged. Only truly absurd amounts of force, enough to overpower all of Nora's metal-enhanced magical potency by a significant margin and still have enough energy left over to destroy the armor, can break it. But not being broken by extreme forces doesn't mean it's not affected by them. Nora's talent doesn't make my armor weigh anymore, and so I'm still fully capable of being flung around by heavy impacts. Which is bad, because I'm inside the armor, and while I'm pretty damn sturdy, I'm decidedly not invincible. I'm not entirely sure what causes the tree to explode when I hit it, but I chalk it up under bullshit white stuff while I'm careening head over heels through the forest with an angry ooze monster chasing after my uncontrolled trajectory. My body is definitely bruised, if not suffering a bit of internal organ damage, but I figure I'll probably be okay as I crash through a few branches and start to slow my descent. It kinda hurts, but I've fought through worse. Still though, as I slam hard into the forest floor, I have to wonder how I'm actually going to kill this thing. You're on a fence, Nora, I tell her, crawling to my feet and coughing out a small splash of blood. I can't yank it. Is cutting a liquid even a thing that will help? She asks. Probably not, I admit. So you're going to aim for the soul. A breath tooth blade should be able to cut it. I can't see souls, though, she points out. Yeah, I admit. That is kind of a problem, huh? Let me swing you when it gets close, but otherwise just slash at the biggest mass you can find with reckless abandon, I guess? Reckless abandon. Got it. Her blade unlocks from the shaft, chain rapidly extending to meet the incoming Ozoid head-on. Her twisting body clashes with the rapidly moving jets of ooze, spinning rapidly to cut them open as they curl around her to reach me. Out of the 4 thin golden spears of liquid, however, the one with the soul successfully dodges past her blind strikes. I flick Nora's shaft so she returns to me, readying a swing at the incoming massive fused anima. Nora's body is, unfortunately, a lot more unwieldy than my own tendrils. I need more practice fighting with her, and I end up missing my target by nearly a foot as it travels past at rapid speed. I'm smacked in the chest by more parts of this thing's body, but rather than knocking me away it wraps around me, pulling its body in and trying to push itself through gaps in my armor. Yeah, fuck that. I start pumping out mana, which gets soaked into the Ozoid and reacts somewhat violently with its already dense mana environment. The monster shrieks, leaping away from me as I try and fail to cut its soul with Nora 2 more times. You sure you can't yank this thing? Nora asks. Not without damaging myself more than I'm willing to, I answer. But you're right, this isn't going to finish things. All we're really doing is getting you uncomfortably sticky. PFFT, Nora snorts for some reason. Ha ha, holy shit. What? I ask. Watcher's fucking eyes, she laughs. Never change, Vita. What? Before she can respond I feel a snap collection of mana underneath me, so I shove my tentacles down and break the spell before it can form. The Ozoid screams at me again. Anyway, why can't you yank it? Nora asks, still laughing slightly. Too tough? No, it just eats me back, I answer. Best case it'll try to integrate part of me into its own soul, which... Actually, wait, that could work. I dig my tentacles into my own soul, pulling out a nice, big control shard. Let's see if this does the trick, I smirk. Hey, gooey. Quit wailing ominously and come eat. It does so, launching my way yet again. I shove a tendril inside it, which hurts like hell, but I manage to drop my shard near its core before getting flung through the canopy again, though this time I barely manage to land on my feet. The Ozoid follows me, magic blooming from behind as it tries to pinball me with explosions again. Stop, I order, and the precise attacks dissolve immediately. My shard tries to seize control from the dozen other souls inside the Ozoid, and while it's far from a perfect success, it certainly causes enough chaos to make the poor creature start having a seizure. Hey, it mostly worked, I announce happily. Kill us, the Ozoid hisses. Can do, I answer cheerfully, lifting Nora up to start carving chunks of its soul out of its body. After all, I want to try to save the human souls if I can. Unfortunately, the more I try to carve them apart, the more confident I am that at this point they are just one single oddly shaped soul. I can't find a safe way to break it apart back into the people it used to be. But the longer I take in the attempt, the more my shard gets integrated into that freaky melted soul mass, and the calmer the Ozoid becomes. By the end of my impromptu attempt at scythe-based surgery, the poor thing has stopped flailing around in a mixture of fury and agony and is now just humming contentedly in a little ball at my feet. Shit, he's kind of cute. Now I don't wanna eat him. Hey there, buddy, I coo, squatting down next to him. My gooey buddy. My gooey go-ober. How are you doing? Kill me, Gooey chirps affectionately, reaching a pseudopod up to squeeze my hand. Oh, I murmur, patting the top of his mass. Yeah, we're totally keeping him. Of course we are, Nora sighs. I spend a while giving my new friend some extra sticky pets and scritches, then leave him with orders to stay close enough to hear me but otherwise do whatever he wants. Gooey seems pretty smart, and understands me perfectly. It's probably all the people's souls that went into making him, though I don't think he's a person himself. Or I guess it's not a person itself. Gooey isn't technically male or female by any metric, but it just seems weird to call him in it. Whatever. I can think about it on the way home. I'm pretty sore after all that, but my body doesn't stay hurting for long. It rarely does, these days. No, it comes with other problems instead. A couple hours later, after catching and devouring a number of additional soul snacks along the way, I suddenly double over as an intensely revolting feeling shivers through my body. Eventually it settles on my shoulder, where a horrid itch blooms as new muscles start to twitch to life underneath my skin. A flesh tentacle. I'm already growing another flesh tentacle, and much faster than before. Why? Why is this? Vita? Vita. Hey, are you okay? Nora asks, hovering protectively around me. I don't. No, I hiss. Probably. I just. Fuck. This feels so goddamn awful, it's like there's a worm writhing inside my shoulder that keeps growing bigger. What the fuck, buddy? Why are you? No. Wait. This isn't my body's fault, is it? This is biomancy, so my soul is doing it. I'm doing it. I just need to know how, and maybe I can stop it. I focus inward, but not all the way to my mind ocean like I usually do. Instead, I walk the threads of anima that spread throughout my entire body, tracing where my mana is going and what I'm doing with it, consciously or otherwise. It moves, flows, and gathers itself to my wounds, to my muscles, and of course to my shoulder, where it twists and flows and changes my flesh into something else, something new. There it is. I just have to reach out and stop it. I feel myself take conscious control of the area, pulling the mana away, but as I do I'm hit with an unexpected dread. I still hate my shoulder. It's still wrong. I don't want a flesh tentacle. But I don't want not a flesh tentacle either. Both manifestations of disgusting meat sicken me equally. The flesh tentacle isn't worse, it's just drawing active attention to a hatred I would otherwise just be ignoring. It's not any more offensive, it's just a deviation from the status quo. And so as I twist my essence to remove it, my soul yearns to answer the question, what should I do instead? What wouldn't I hate? Because the core of my being is so desperate to find the answer to that question it's willing to grow fleshy facsimiles of itself in random areas just to hope that they'll somehow be better than the current state. That, and the fact that I'm rapidly reaching the limit of what my body can handle. My bones can't get tougher, my muscles aren't getting any stronger, but my body is still getting fed so much food and so much power that it doesn't know what else to do with it all. I'm just not right. My body is like a shoe I've worn since I was 6 years old, and it's growing eyes everywhere because it needs new holes for the toes to stick out of. I have to change. My current vessel isn't enough. So if not this, my subconscious challenges me, then what? What do I want my body to be? And I don't have an answer to that. I stand back up, using Nora to cut a small hole in the top of my armor so the newly growing tendril can poke out without getting squished. What to be? Has that been my problem? Objectively, the thought that I could make my body however I want is extremely fucking cool, but to face it is overwhelming. I can't think of any shape, human or inhuman, that feels right. It's all still made of meat. That's a fucking food. I want to eat food, not be made of it. But what else is there? If I don't make my body out of food, then my soul becomes food. Misty will gobble me up if I make a body of metal or wood or dirt or stone or anything else, really. I seethe in quiet fury the rest of the way back to camp. I'm still thinking about the problem when night falls. The more I think about it, the more issues I have. I don't consider myself human and don't particularly want to be human. Yet the best things in my life are all human, and I don't know if I would have been physically capable of appreciating them without a human brain guiding my soul. All the other masses of mana that surround my ocean don't really feel. I don't know. Alive? Aware? Was I a person before ours put me in a human baby? If not, will I stop being a person if I abandon my flesh? I'm so much of a grumpy mess that I refuse to talk to anyone when I finally make it back, instead just ordering Gooey to stay outside of the perimeter so I don't have to explain him and staggering into the first empty tent I find to attempt passing out. Unfortunately, I've still recently ingested huge amounts of anima, and my mind isn't the slightest bit tired. Fucking stupid body, always being dumb and wrong and annoying. I barely even feel better when I feel Penelope teleports into camp, strutting towards my tent like she owns it. And who am I kidding? She pretty much does. If she wants anything here, I'll let her have it. Sure enough, I can't so much as muster up a glower when she throws the tent flap open. Vita, she greets me with a tired smile. Did you kill that dragon? Nope, I grumble. Never even found one. Ah. Unfortunate, she says. Well, I need to talk to you about our plans regarding the Inquisition. No, I mumble. We. What? She asks, blinking. No, I repeat. Cuddles. She tilts her head, smirking at me. I'm sorry, what was that? I can't quite hear you. I am the queen of the broken and the dead, I declare. And I demand cuddles. A foreign monarch? She muses. Unfortunately, as a first lady I think I have to declare war on you, now. No war, I groan. Gimme cuddles. Please. She sighs dramatically, entering the tent and closing up the flap behind her. Well, I suppose if you're bringing your dusty old manners to the conversation, of all things, I've no choice but to give in. How would you like to, oop? I yank her towards me with my tentacles before she can make any more mouth noises, curling myself around her in every way possible. Obligingly, she falls into silence, hugging me tight as we lie on the floor of the tent, my exhaustion and stress slowly leaking away in her arms. This right here is something I learned from my human body. The simple joy of touching a person that I love. Whatever it is I become after this, one thing's for sure, I need to be certain that I'll still appreciate this feeling. Squeezing my tendrils tighter around her, I find myself poking around her butt more than usual. Something weird is going on here. I dance my tendrils down her spine to the end point where it should vanish into the pelvis, but it doesn't. It keeps going. I grab the extra bit of unexpected Penelope and give it a little tug. "Are you growing a tail?" I ask her. "Finished figuring that out, have you?" She murmurs back. "Indeed I am." "Huh?" I mutter. "Like, on purpose?" "On purpose," she confirms. "I've been planning one for a while." Could you explain why?" I ask. "Not that I don't like it, I mean. I do. I just—" "How did you make that decision?" She hums happily, taking a moment to decide how to answer me as relief floods through me. "I forgot. I forget too often, really. But I'm not on the streets anymore, and I'm not stuck in prison either. I'm not alone. And this is definitely a problem Penelope can help with." Chapter 138 I need a large tail because I'm looking to store more casting organs, Penelope explains. Among other things. But I didn't like the idea of a tail that I had to drag everywhere. It's unappealingly crude, solution-wise. I nestle my face deeper into her chest, because it's soft and I'm tired and I expect she's about to talk more than enough for both of us. Penelope certainly values elegance and design, something that I think rubbed off on Margaret. I'm not sure I understand the concept, but I can't argue with the results. Plus, yeah, dragging a body part everywhere seems awful. So the idea I ultimately settled on was to turn things inside out. Literally. I've redesigned the spellcasting organs to be external. They are basically small flesh tentacles, and they layer the underside of the tail, being able to walk with me when I'm not using them for spells. And with proper counterweighting, I should be able to lift the entire tail off the ground while leaning forwards, letting me make full use of the entire set. I'll look a little silly with my body hunched over like a raptor, but I doubt appearances will be the first of my worries in any situation where I'll need to bring out the full scope of my casting prowess. I wrap some of my fleshy tentacles around my girlfriend's face, poking and prodding her to remind her how annoying they are. "I know you don't like your physical tentacles, Vita, but they're a useful structure," Penelope chides. "Mine will be much shorter and more numerous than yours. They are designed for precision flexibility, not physical manipulation. I'm really looking forward to finishing it. Though while I grow the basic structure I'm still finalizing the exact muscle-to-organ space ratio that I want. Considering how long it's going to be, being able to support my entire body weight with the tail would be a plus. Of course, at minimum, I want to make sure the tail has enough compressive strength to crush a human skull. That averages to a bit over 520 pounds force, so supporting my weight wouldn't be too far off anyway. Weird metric, but I understand. Skull crushing is an excellent power move. I briefly consider asking about where she got those numbers, but decide against it. It's cuddle time, after all. I shift my weight a little, squeeze my tendrils slightly tighter, and make a humming noise of acknowledgement. As for other alterations, I've played around with the idea of claws multiple times, but as much as I like the aesthetic, they're just more trouble than they're worth. Non-retractable claws would simply be prone to getting in the way more than they would be helpful, while retractable claws are not an easy thing to design for the human hand structure. There's just not enough space in the first knuckle for such a thing, which leads to needing a dozen other concessions, and, well, suffice to say it's not an appealing prospect. I still can't decide if I want to replace my skin with scales. I like the potential for giving myself an epidermis stronger than most armor, and could likely come up with an effective method of cooling even if I give up on sweat, but I like my skin. I've worked hard on making it the way it is. Soft, I mumble, causing Penelope to chuckle. "Yes, exactly," she agrees. "It really would be a shame to get rid of it, don't you think?" I make another affirmative humming noise, happily squirming around a little. Penelope is very soft. She might honestly be even softer than Roscoe. Nah, that'd be crazy. She's close though. Now, feel free to continue hiding between my breasts if you don't want to answer. Penelope smirks, but why do you ask? You don't normally show this much interest. I make a few wordless grumbles but regretfully extract myself from the softness, taking the effort to physically look at her face. I think I'm growing physical versions of my soul structure by default, but that's not the way it is to be, I explain. I'm becoming Miss Witcher-like, but I think I could turn into something else, if I wanted to. The problem is that there's nothing I want to be. I don't get wanting to be a certain way, I guess. Penelope muses, stroking her fingers through my slowly regrowing hair. Do you have things you don't want to be? Well, yeah, I confirm. But it's like basically everything. I don't even want to be made of flesh. And what does that mean to you? Penelope asks. Define flesh. Huh? I ask. Define flesh, she repeats. What is flesh? What don't you like about it? Break your issues down into discrete elements. I sigh, trying to wrap my head around the problem of turning my constant daily discomfort into words understandable by someone who has no context for what I'd even be talking about. Even separating it into chunks like she wants is difficult. The experience of hating my body is just my default. How do I define that? When you're in prison, you have a cell. You're stuck in the cell. You can move around a bit, but you're always stuck. I lift my arm up, moving the core of my soul out of my belly and down my shoulder, feeling my true self strain against the cramped insides of my hand. Maybe you're not truly stuck. I can leave my cell whenever I want. But it's not something you can ever take back, and certain death waits on the other end. So you just have to put up with it. You just have to stay stuck for as long as it takes, trying not to think about how much better life would be if you weren't trapped. Are you trapped? Penelope asks softly. You can't move a jail cell, but your body is yours to control. Sure, but it controls wrong, I insist. I don't know how to describe this part. Flesh moves wrong. It has. I don't know. Mass gravity. Resistance. I feel like I'm a slug, crawling around with barely coordinated jerks of some slimy tube. And I have to feel this way all the time, yanking my soggy prison around from the inside, screaming at it to move right, to do what I want it to do. But half the time it has a mind of its own. I don't get to control when I'm tired or when I'm sweaty or when I'm aroused or when I'm itchy. I don't get to control my heartbeat or my bowels or my tears or my reflexes. It's like something else is driving half of me, all the time, and I hate it. Penelope hums, tapping her cheek. You don't think it would get annoying or dangerous to have to manually beat your own heart? The heart isn't like your lungs, Vita. You won't be alright if you just hold it for a while. No, that's not the point. I insist. I don't want a heart at all. I don't want this disgusting blob constantly twitching inside me. I feel it moving all the time and it just... Ew. It's so gross. So, you want a body that doesn't have internal organs, or at least one where you can't feel them. Penelope clarifies. As well as a body that doesn't have any particularly egregious autonomic responses like arousal or itchiness. Well, yeah, I guess, I admit. It sounds a lot simpler when you put it that way. That's why I'm putting it that way, Penelope smiles. Now we can think about ways to accomplish that. You could make yourself a skeleton, could you not? That would solve most of those issues. Skeletons are very cool, I admit, thinking about it. But Margaret isn't exactly the best cuddler. Plus, the problem with being dead in general is that it makes me a lot weaker and more vulnerable. I'm not the biggest fan of muscles, but they make me much stronger than if I only had soul power to work with. Even worse, bodily destruction would kill me permanently if I was undead, let you know. My soul would get smashed if my body does. True, Penelope agrees, nodding. You could make yourself an ozoid without much trouble. They won't shatter on death, will they? Probably not, I conclude, thinking about that. I do like the idea of just being a singular mass of the same substance. You want to be homogeneous, Penelope translates. A challenging prospect for a complex living being, but one we already know is possible. I don't know if I like the idea of being an ooze, though, I admit. If my body is that malleable, I think I'm going to continue struggling with the idea of what I am, what I look like. I won't know what to do with myself. It sounds depressing. Also, I definitely don't want anything to be able to get inside me, unless I'm currently eating it. So being a liquid seems kind of terrible in that regard. So you want to be some sort of homogeneous mass, but you want to retain your shape, but you don't want internal organs, but you do want some sort of muscular system, but you don't want a heart, but you do want to be alive. That about sum it up? Yep. I confirm. Oh, I also still want to be able to enjoy cuddles. Naturally, Penelope chuckles. Well, let it never be said that my girlfriend lacks ambition. No, I'd probably let someone say that if they wanted to, I tell her honestly. I don't really care if someone thinks that about me. How about my body, though? Do you have any ideas? She laughs harder, squeezing me tightly for a moment. I can't say I have any immediate solution to that, no. I wouldn't say what you want is impossible, but I don't have any workable theories. Just a few ideas. The problem that immediately comes to mind is the fact that there's not really a substance I know of that can accomplish what you want. What you're describing. Well, in essence, you want to be a solidified soul, don't you? You don't want a body, you want your real self to be the body. I raise my eyebrows, feeling somewhat stupid all of a sudden. Yeah, I mean, it seems really obvious now that you say it out loud. Again, that's why I'm saying it out loud, she answers smugly, booping my nose with a finger. You're clever, Vita, but you've never been the best at turning feelings into words. I don't know if my feelings matter in this case, I say glumly. Even if I could solidify my soul or whatever, the Miss Watcher will just eat me if I don't have a body. Perhaps, Penelope admits, nodding. But perhaps not. It depends on how you accomplish it. The very idea of a solidified soul is just that, an idea. It has no concrete properties yet. It might be an entire category of things, or it might be completely impossible. We'll just have to figure it out together. Or, perhaps, your absurd intuition will craft a solution for you. It's hard to say. I don't answer, because the more she talks about it the more the idea starts to roll around in my head, picking up the detritus of my various frustrations and giving them direction. Some kind of solid soul self? A body that's only just enough of a body to fool the Miss Watcher? I have no clue how such a thing would work, but I certainly like the idea. It just checks all the boxes. I'll definitely think about it, I nod absently, my mind still wandering around doing exactly that. Thanks, Penelope. Would now be a good time to talk about what I came here to talk about, then? Penelope asks half-jokingly. I grumble quietly, redistributing myself so I can continue using my girlfriend's softest bits as a pillow without muffling my voice. Fine, I allow. I'm picking up that I won't like it, though. Well, that depends, Penelope answers smoothly. How much do you like the idea of slaughtering dozens of people responsible for your torture and incarceration? Not all that much, actually, I sigh. Well then, she starts, then blinks with surprise. Wait, really? You're usually quite adorably revenge positive. Well yeah, and I grumble. Then I killed dozens of people responsible for my torture and incarceration. So, why bother doing it a second time? I made it. I'm home. We're cuddling. I'm happy. At this point I just want the problem to go away. Penelope starts running her fingers through my hair again, frowning to herself. I feel her soul flit through a variety of intentions, first, of course, being the instinct to manipulate me into seeing things her way. She quashes it as she usually does, half with the conviction to not do that to me on principle, and half with the knowledge that she doesn't really need to manipulate me to get me to agree. Not that I think she'd manipulate me if she wouldn't get what she wanted otherwise, but I know she'd be a lot more tempted to. It's hard to describe what feeling someone's intentions from their soul is like. Back when I first started honing the ability, I was busy parsing through how every soul only has a minuscule fraction of itself devoted to a person's current thoughts and feelings, and at the time it was a very difficult part of the soul to detect. Penelope's feelings felt like a song, Nora's feelings felt like waves of pressure, Lynn's feelings felt like pulses of temperature. It all seemed so different, but the more I got used to it the more I figured out there's somewhat of a shared language between all of them. I just needed to learn to read it. I don't hear Penelope's thoughts as words, but the nuances of her emotions spread throughout her soul, touching on and resonating with ideas, memories, plans, associations, and dozens of other comprehensible and incomprehensible things in a vast web. I don't just feel the emotion of temptation, I feel a temptation that explicitly relates to her insecurities, her regrets, her habits, the pleasurable feeling she gets when giving in to temptations, the many people she associates with this particular temptation, the superiority she feels compared to those people, the way her temptation relates to me, the way that associating the temptation with me disgusts her, the way it also excites her, and so on. It's entirely in the form of emotion and association, not conscious thought, but it's so complex and rich I can usually make reasonable assumptions about what thoughts lead to any given reaction. The better I know a person, the better I can interpret what each part of the web is and the more confident I can be in my conclusions. Penelope is definitely one of the people I know best. Even considering how much she's changed in the years I've been away. After contemplating manipulation, she starts calculating the impact my removal from whatever her plan is would have on it. And very quickly decides that I'm still needed. She then purposefully puts that thought aside, changing mental tracks off her usual rail to something that confused the shit out of me before I figured out what was going on. Right now she's actively trying to feel something, but she isn't succeeding, so I can only guess what it is. I have those guesses, of course. It's not the first time she's done this, and she always ends up disappointed when she inevitably fails. Then she switches tracks again, right back to manipulation. Though this time, her goal is to manipulate me into feeling better, which is something she has significantly fewer moral qualms with. Of course, before she opens her mouth she's already succeeding. Most people are really confusing to me. They feel emotions that seem totally disconnected from what I'd expect, reacting to stimuli and forming associations that completely fly over my head. Penelope can be a little confusing at times, but relatively speaking she is remarkably straightforward, rarely acting without thinking like normal people do. It's nice, and I don't have any issue with her plotting out a conversation in advance in an attempt to steer me down whatever track ends up making me happier. I don't need her to empathize, to feel bad when I feel bad. I don't think it's a flaw that she can't. The way she cares is different, but I like it better. You said you were happy, Penelope mentioned softly. Is that true? I boop her on the nose with a tentacle. It definitely is right now, I murmur. She beams, inside and out, but presses forward with her plan. Yes, well. I meant in the general case. You've been away for a 10-day, and I hear you came back looking rather worn down. Yeah, I guess so, I admit. I really lost track of time out there. I don't like how easy it is for me to lose track of time. If not for Nora I'd probably still be running around and killing everything I get close to. And that bothers you, Penelope prompts. I don't answer immediately, taking a moment to gather my thoughts while I feel Penelope start pulling in mana to cast something on me. I give her my own mana, freely and happily, relishing in the feeling of dancing within her soul before the spell completes and that part of me is removed from existence forever. Naturally, I keep my magic resistance off. Whatever she's doing, I trust her completely. There was a time in my life, I eventually started, where I would have been absolutely horrified by the amount of murder I've done now. I don't think I've ever been a good person, really. I've seen a lot of death. I waited by and let death take people I knew when I could have tried to stop it. The first time I used my talent. Yeah, I mean, I guess we know it's not really a talent now. But the first time I pulled a soul out of someone, I kind of freaked out, you know? But now it's just what I am. The Vita that thought she was human would be happy I'm no longer starving, but I don't think she would have wanted anything to do with me. Penelope casts another spell on me, and I feel the eyeball on my thigh start to itch, twitching around uncomfortably in its socket. Ah, she's finally getting around to removing it. I nuzzle her a little with the back of my head in silent thanks. Do you care what your past self thinks of you? Penelope asks. Not really, I admit. But do you ever feel like... I stop, frowning a little as I catch my words. There's no need to ask her, I know she's felt this way. You know that feeling where we look back at everything we've done and wonder why we don't regret more of it? It's that. Ah, Penelope almost whispers. That. But I can't bring myself to regret it because I don't know what I could have done better, I sigh. Instead it just makes me feel. I don't know. Stupid, I guess? Like someone else in my position would be able to look back at my life and figure out all the ways I've screwed up, and I'm simply too dumb to see it. But it feels like my mistakes have all been in how I interact with people, and I just don't get people. Not even when I'm looking into their souls. Whenever I try to get them to do one thing, they end up diving for the other. Whenever I try to get them to understand something, they just dig their heels into the opposite. It's just... I just can't. I'm no good at it. I'm only good at killing, so everything keeps coming back to that. Penelope sighs. You aren't stupid, Vita, she assures me. And you'd better make sure you believe that, because you know that's something I judge very harshly. You're just missing something most humans have. Same as me. I don't think you need it, I tell her. The feeling is mutual, she responds. But neither of us agree with the other, I continue. No, she confirms softly. I suppose not. The two of us hold each other in silence, soaking in that bittersweet acknowledgement for a moment. Remember our little mantra from 2 years ago? Penelope asks eventually. Not psychopaths? I remember. It's getting increasingly difficult for me to deny that I am one, she admits. Even with Nugas, I'm merely disgusted at myself for violating my principles, not out of any care for the unimaginable amounts of pain I put a living person through. I spent so long experimenting on her I have to manually remind myself that Nugas even is a person. I honestly never expected her to turn out as one. It's good you have principles, I point out. Only tautologically, she answers. It is good to possess my principles, according to my principles. I'll admit there's a certain satisfaction in upholding them properly, but it's an intellectual satisfaction. Like successfully solving a puzzle. I thought the way I felt for you was proof that I wasn't broken. But it's still just you. If anything, having you has made my tendencies towards everyone else even worse. Even the way you care about me is a little weird, I inform her absently. It's pretty different from how other people love. The horror that grips her startles me, her body going stiff and her soul singing cold. Shit, why is she freaking out? Did I fuck up again? Hey, it's okay. I promise her, hurriedly reaching up to grab her cheeks. It's good. I like the way you like me. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to worry you. It's fine, Vita, Penelope lies. I don't even know why I was surprised, really. Ugh. And here I was planning to try to cheer you up. I know, I tell her. That was when your plan succeeded. She smiles softly, coming down at my words. I think I even understand why. Pride, triumph, conquest, victory. These are things that make Penelope happy. I wish I could make this world one that you could live in without any problems, Penelope tells me. But unfortunately, I need your help for that. And I fear that even if we sit here and do nothing, the Inquisition will be coming for you sooner rather than later. I sigh, nodding. I'm not going to kill them if they don't attack me first, I tell her. And I want to give them the opportunity to back off and leave me be. I don't know how to make it work, but I have to at least try. I don't even know how to make that work, Vita, Penelope says sadly. I'd tell you how if I could. So that's it, then? I ask. We just prepare for war. We prepare for slaughter, she corrects me. When they come for you, I want you to fight a battle of attrition. Keep them occupied for as long as you can, especially the High Templars. Of course, dead absolutely counts as occupied. Brahm and Cassia are still out of the city and will likely stay that way, which means you should prepare for Guldra and Arden. Arden? I ask. Arden the Iron Soul, Penelope answers. They are quite a powerhouse, and their talent would be overwhelmingly strong in the hands of an even remotely intelligent learnmage. Arden has the capacity to shape and manipulate enormous amounts of mana outside the confines of their own soul. Fortunately for you, Arden isn't a learnmage, so you'll only have to worry about giant golden death rays. Yeah, that doesn't sound too bad, I agree. Although, an attack made of highly concentrated Watcher mana might damage my soul. I'm not sure, since Watcher mana doesn't normally hurt any part of me other than my own mana, but if it's concentrated enough to damage physical objects I wouldn't be surprised if it can damage anima as well. Mana normally damages neither, after all. On second thought, maybe it does, I muse. I guess I'll kill Arden first, if possible. I pause. I'm already planning the order, huh? I don't like killing, certainly not in the way Penelope does. I'll admit I do love eating souls, and that usually necessitates killing, but as tasty as human souls consistently are, there's nothing about them that's better than monster souls other than average size. I'd be perfectly happy not having to murder anyone ever again, but that's just not in the cards, is it? Not unless I want to leave Vodka entirely. And I'd rather kill 1,000 Templars than have to abandon the only people I've ever really cared about. The question still nags at me, though. Could a smarter person find a better way? And if so, how can I become that person? I'd also like to discuss the plan with the many ex-prisoners you've brought here, if that's okay, Penelope continues. The more people we can get involved, the better our chances of success. Makes sense to me, I acknowledge. Talk to Jeremiah first, he's probably the best guy to poke holes in your plan. I'm sure To Kill From Above would be happy to kill Templars as well. That's the Hiveric soldier? She asks. Watcher's eyes, I want to dissect him so badly. You can after he inevitably betrays us, I answer, waving her off. I don't kill people for things I expect they're going to do. Vivisect, then. We don't have to kill him, Penelope pouts. Do you even have time for him right now? I ask. She sighs. Yeah, she doesn't, and we both know it. Well, speaking of inevitable betrayal, Penelope muses, you don't have any problems with me backstabbing Capita and Sky, do you? Nah, I grunt. Altrix might be sad, but she'll get over it after we tell her about the perception event. Wait. Do the people here not know about the Skyhope perception event? I mean, some of them might? I hedge. But probably not. They've nearly all been captured for well over 2 years. The staff probably knows, but that's it. Oh, Penelope muses. That could be fun. Do you mind if I borrow Manus? Go for it, I shrug. I should probably get up and start talking to other people, I guess. Ugh. There are too many people in my life, all of a sudden. Altrix is worried about me, Penta is around and definitely deserves some of my time. I should see how my revenants are getting on, and of course Melissa deserves a hug or 20. Not to mention the general peacekeeping rounds I should be making. It's going to be such a pain. Part of me wants to keep laying here and cuddling forever. Part of me wants to return to the forest and start feasting again. But no. If I ignore my obligations now, I'll be even less likely to get to them later. Besides, it's probably about time that we start reviving former humans as Ozoids. Starting, of course, with Angelion. Chapter 139. So, Penelope says about 20 minutes later. About what you said regarding getting up and talking to other people? But you're just so comfy, though. I whine. Okay, so maybe my resolution towards productivity and self-control isn't quite so easily achieved as simply deciding that I'm going to do it. But Penelope is very warm, and she's very squeezable, and I love having something for my tendrils to hold, and she is just... Gah! Why would any Saint Vita willingly leave? I've done all I can do for your extra eyes at this point, Penelope chuckles. And as fun as this is, I do have things to do and places to be. Sorry, Vita. Wait, you've done all you can for my eyes. They're all still here, though. Vita, do you really think I can remove entire organs from your body in less than an hour? She chides. This is going to take days, possibly weeks of work. I go a little stiff at that. That's not good. The rate I'm growing them is accelerating, though, I tell her. I grew my shoulder tentacle today. Is that so? Penelope muses. Well, in that case, come find me the next time you feel something start to grow. Maybe I can figure out a way to stop it. Or perhaps I can figure out a way to make bodily modifications that quickly as well. I snort, sensing she is a lot more excited about the second prospect than the first. Oh, well. One does not date a scientist without expecting to have a lot of experimental science done to their body. I knew this would happen when I agreed to this relationship. Though speaking of, it's still vaguely weird to be in a relationship. I got a lot more used to the idea of Penelope as my girlfriend while I was incarcerated, and though I certainly worried that wouldn't be the case by the time I got out, I'm thankful to find that my fears were for naught. I still don't really know what being my girlfriend means, though, at least not beyond the fact that I can request and receive cuddles without my whole body entering instant fight or flight mode on contact. Except I can also do that with Lynn, and she's very much not my girlfriend. Like, according to my extremely limited understanding of relationships, a girlfriend is just a female friend you either have sex with or intend to have sex with in the future. But we don't do that. Nor will we. So is she just my favorite friend? No, wait, that's best friend. Besides, she's more than a friend. Nora is a friend. Penta is a friend. Penelope is definitely something else entirely. She's more like family? Is that what it means? Not very helpful, if so. I don't exactly understand the concept of family that much better. Whatever. Words and definitions aside, I still need to stop cuddling her and go to other important things. After another 5 minutes, Penelope stands up of her own accord and, despite my protests, carries me out of the tent before plopping me down on my feet. All right, time to get things done, she cruelly orders. I'm going to go speak with Jeremiah like you suggested. So you should... Ugh. I should probably start with my backup mom? I regretfully admit. Then Penta. Then I'll wing it. Child, did you just call us backup mom? Altrix snaps at me from the other side of the clearing. Though given her response I guess she's definitely son-o. I wince, not having thought she would have heard that. I intended it as a term of endearment. I shout back honestly. We were your first mom. She reminds me. Your current mom is the backup. I guess that makes sense? I admit, walking away from my now laughing girlfriend to approach son-o. I just meant that you were next in line to be primary mom if something happens to Lynn. Not that I'm planning on anything bad ever happening to Lynn, but it's always important to have backup plans. People die. Don't give us ideas, son-o grumbles, walking into physical view. She's not being serious, of course, so I don't have to kill her. We're glad you're finally back, Vita. You're horribly filthy, though. We'll find someone to heat up a bath for you. I don't know if I really have time. I hedge. You will make time, son-o insists. You made time to snog a noblewoman. You can certainly make time to ensure you don't ruin her outfit when next you do it. I look down at myself, then glance back at the retreating form of Penelope. I guess I am pretty muddy. I'm glad she's not the kind of prim and proper person to care much about that, though I suppose a big part of her apathy comes from being safe in the knowledge that she has a very effective cleaning spell, and also other people to do her chores for her. Either way, Penelope doesn't have a problem with it, I insist. Why should I? Watcher's eyes, it's like you're still 5 years old, Sano grumbles. You're in charge here, Vita. You need to look the part. I do? I ask, not seeing the connection there. Why do I need to look a certain way to be in charge? And how is covered in monster blood not that way? Sano sighs. People will like you more if you're clean, Vita. I don't care if most of these people like me, I argue. I just want them to listen to me. And they're more likely to listen to you if they like you, Sano counters patiently. Have you not noticed that? I scowl a little. I mean, yeah, I guess that makes sense. But I don't see how that translates to taking a bath. I guess baths aren't that bad, but out here in the forest privacy is enforced less by walls and more by threat of death. I don't really feel like dealing with that. We've noticed you latch onto a few people that catch your interest to establish mutual respect with, Sano continues, but for most people you just intimidate them into obedience, ignoring everything else. Humans are more complicated than a series of threats and consequences, Vita. Yeah, that's for damn sure. I wish they weren't, I complain. I'm not really much of a bather, but fine. If that's what'll make you happy, I'll oblige. As usual, Sano does something unexpected. Rather than be happy I agreed to her demands, she just gives me an odd look. Do you even remember how to bathe yourself properly, Vita? What? I snap defensively. Of course I know how to bathe myself. What kind of question is that? You don't, do you? Sano continues, ignoring me. We will help you. Go talk to your slime friend while we get things set up. Okay? I answer, getting an instinctive impression that saying no would be a bad idea. I don't really want to be taught something I already know how to do, but I suspect that going along with it will be a lot less annoying than trying to stop it, and I've been meaning to spend more one-on-one time with Ultrix anyway. Speaking of my slime friend, I find her dozing on a rock near Margaret's still unfinished teleportation circle. I don't really want to interrogate her about whatever terrible revenge Penelope no doubt concocted, but it was probably a bit unnecessarily mean to leave her with Penelope in the first place. I give her a friendly jiggle by poking her with a finger, to which she responds by trying to suck up and dissolve said finger in her pre-lucid waking moments. Penna quickly notices what she's doing, however, and transfers the parts of her body trying to eat me for breakfast towards the much more productive task of quickly pulling herself up my hand, then my arm, and finally swimming all the way up to my shoulder. Moments later, her slimy body is reshaping itself into the humanoid form she crafted for herself the day I left. Well, look who's back, Penta comments dryly. You get that dragon? Nah, I shrug slightly, jiggling her entire body. Turns out that dragons are cowards and they all ran away from me. She makes a dismissive scoffing noise, though considering the fact that she's tiny enough for me to hold in my hands it comes off as more adorable than anything. Shame, that, she says. Though I suppose I can certainly empathize with anyone who finds you terrifying. I wince. Speaking of terrifying, how did your chat with Penelope go? She shapes her face into a flat glare. You know damn well it wasn't a chat, Vita, she accuses. How do you think it went? She puppeted me around for a while, tested out a few animancy torture methods, which is a thing that she has, apparently, then left in a huff. At least it only took a few hours. I'm even mostly sure she even undid everything she did to me, which was a pleasant surprise. What did she do? I ask hesitantly. I'd rather not talk about it, Penna answers firmly. Suffice to say it was appropriately ironic. Exactly the sort of thing I'd expect from her. I'd hoped that would be the end of it, but it sure didn't seem to make her feel any better when she was done. Oh, I answer, my tentacles drooping a bit. Well, did she at least leave you alone after that? Yes, Penta acknowledges. If anything, she's been weirdly polite. Huh, I say. I wonder why. Couldn't say, Penta grunts. I don't know what either of you are thinking anymore. It's odd. Well, you did miss out on a couple years, I remind her, to which I interpret her resulting indignation as a resounding I know. I cough awkwardly and continue. But, other than that, how have things been? How's having your own body treating you? It's strange, she sighs. I've been trying to increase my biomass but it's slow going. Oozoids don't seem to be very efficient digesters. More importantly. Well, it's frightening, I suppose. Oh, I ask. I just figured your fear was of me. That too, she admits. But in general, I have a constant fear of being alone. In my own head, I mean. Throughout most of my life, feeling this way meant I was only a short time away from personality death. It's funny how the thing I wanted most, my own body, now causes me constant anxiety. I nod slowly. Constant anxiety due to the nature of one's existence? I can understand that. Maybe you'll get over it. I suggest. It's not like you're very old. You've been both conscious and sapient for less than a month, I think? Penta's body loses a bit of cohesion for a moment as she reels from that thought. Oh you're right, she realizes. I was Penelope for, what, a few days? Then the trip to Alicia was only. Holy shit. I'm a month old. I mean, plus the uncountable amount of time I was a fucking burrow hound, I suppose. Damn. The burrow hounds. That feels like a lifetime ago. It literally was, Penta remarks. I just got brought back to life, because I happened to become friends with a baby goddess. Hey. What do you mean a baby goddess? I protest. Well, you don't even have your first cult yet, do you? Penta sardonically remarks. You're not really an adult goddess until you have at least one cult. I don't even want a cult. I complain. Well, no one wants to pay taxes when they grow up either, but at some point you're just going to have to leave the nest. I groan with exasperation as she chuckles at me, a disturbingly exact copy of Penelope's classic demure giggle. Ugh, this is the moment, I guess. I gotta say it now or I never will. I'm sorry I left you with Penelope like that, I manage. I was mad about what you said regarding vitamin N, but I still shouldn't have just given her free rein, you know? Penta gives me a searching look, which considering her body is a very purposeful decision. It seems a little pointless to me since she knows I barely pay attention to faces and read emotions from her soul anyway, but it is what it is. You probably shouldn't have, she agrees. It wasn't exactly a fun way to come back to life. Still. It's not like I don't deserve it. I never wanted to torture Penelope in the way she tortured me, but I still did it. She seems to have gotten her pound of flesh now, so that's that. Now I'm just worried for her. Penelope is both more and less broken of a person than she thinks she is, if that makes any sense. Not really, I admit. She barks out a dry laugh. Yeah, I guess I expected that response. You excuse me. I hear Altrix call out. Oh, fuck, it's a different one. Nix, I think her name is? The bath is ready. Welp, I guess I need to take care of that, I sigh. You wanna come with, Penta? To a bath? Ugh, wouldn't that be nostalgic? But no, unfortunately, there's no real point. Large bodies of water could kill me if I lose cohesion, and I'm self-cleaning anyway. Self-cleaning, huh? 1 point for the use body column, I guess. I stretch my hand up towards the rock Penta had been dozing on when I found her, and she quickly twists down my arm to plop down on it. I'm going to try to revive some humans in a bit, I tell her. Can I count on you to help? Not sure how much help you expect from me, but I'll be there, she agrees. I nod, turning to approach Nix. I hope she assembled something suitably private. Public bathing is the default in Vodka, and I've gone to public baths plenty of times. Still, I'm never excited about the prospect of being naked for any reason, let alone with other people around. I'm not modest, just paranoid. Even now that my bones can survive explosions and my muscles can rip a man in half, I can't get over the discomfort of exposing weakness. Bad, Bad things happen to street kids that caught the wrong person's eye. More clothing was always better than less. Thankfully, construction seems to have progressed quickly while I was away, to Kill from Above still directing groups in the creation of small wooden cabins. After meeting up with Ultrix, Nix, she's Nix right now, she takes me into one of them. It's pretty much just a small shed with a barrel full of water in it, but the water is hot and the room is private, so all things considered I'm pretty happy with it. I start to strip down, tossing my things in the corner of the room until Nix starts stuttering in protest. If you could give us those, we'll have them doubly washed as well. She stammers. I shrug, tossing them her way. My outfit isn't important enough to worry about, it's not even real armor. As long as I get something to wear back before I'm done bathing, I don't care what it is. Okay, so, here's the soap, Nix says, holding it out to me. You, know how to use soap, right? Pretty sure step 1 is not eating it, which was always disappointing, I answered wryly, accepting the stuff. Is this all a plot to do mother-daughter things with me? Nix squeaks with embarrassment, bringing her hands up to her face. It's not really a plot, she answers. We're not even used to having a daughter. It's nice in some ways. I'm not really sure how to respond to that, so I don't. The bath is fine. Predictably, my self-care skills don't live up to Ultrix's standards, and I get taught a lot about the proper way to use soap. I humor her, seeing no reason not to, and I have to admit that I end up feeling squeaky clean afterwards, which is a very strange experience. I literally haven't taken more than a shitty sponge bath in 2 years. Afterwards, I even get some new clothes. Even better, I get armor. My new outfit is a cool black segmented gambeson, designed with joints and multiple layers in mind so that when Nora turns the outer layer rigid I can still have padding to help me absorb heavy blows. I look a bit puffy, I guess? But it's very practical and exactly what I need, so who cares? The dumbest looking parts of the outfit are covered by my new cloak anyway. Thanks, Nix, I say, happily noting how well it fits me. A little bit tight, but overall it's almost perfect. This is pretty great, actually. You're welcome. Nix answers. I believe Margaret's friend Nuva's made it. It was teleported over a few days ago. I pause. That would explain the fit, yeah. Did she use her own measurements for this? Oh well, it's hardly the weirdest thing in my life. Is the teleporter working? I ask, deciding to focus on that instead. Well enough for non-living objects, yes. Nix answers. Only a small chance of material loss. Material loss sounds like it'd be bad for living objects, I agree offhandedly. Pretty bad, yes. I nod understandingly. There are a lot of important body parts, I think. Either way, now that I'm dressed for success, it's finally time to bring my sister back to life. Why no, probably. I assume Melissa has gotten her mass back while I've been away. Sure enough, when I finally spot her I see she's about the same size she was before we started cutting bits off of her and putting slime souls in them. Which is probably good. She's currently chatting with Penta, who slithered over there to wait for me, presumably. Hey, Melissa. I greet, waving at her. How are you doing? Vita. The girl chirps, half running and half flowing towards me at my words. She moves right up next to me, seems to hesitate, and squirms slightly before asking me a question. See, can I try to hug you? She asks. I think I can do it. That's actually a tough question. I want to say yes. While Melissa would and absolutely has hurt many flies, she certainly wouldn't intentionally hurt me. And damn does this girl need hugs. But at the same time, if she makes a mistake and gets caustic up on my new gift clothing, that'd be kinda sad. Oh, wait, I know. Nora. I call out, raising my hand towards the sky. My scythe dutifully spins through the air, flying rapidly towards me and landing in my grip. Without needing to tell her, I feel Nora's talent cover my clothes, protecting them from harm. Hug away. I tell Melissa, opening my arms and accepting the small, gooey massive girl-child flopping her body into them. She erupts into a gleeful set of giggling as her body retains its form, not even attempting to burn my clothing. "Hey, you're really doing it." I praise her, patting the back of her head. "Awesome job." "Yeah." She agrees, giving me a tighter squeeze for a moment before stepping away. Ms. Penta is really smart and good at things. She helped a lot. I didn't help that much, Penta protests. Anyway, I'm healing way better and remembering things really good, just like you said I would. Melissa cheers. "Thank you, Ms. Vita. If you need any more bits of me, I'm ready for it." "I do, actually." I confirm. "This next soul is really, really important to me. It's my little sister Angelian. She's about your age, actually. Not counting all the years she can't remember experiencing, anyway." For both of them, I guess." "Oh wow. Is this a human soul?" she asks. "She'll be like me?" "Exactly like you." I agree. "So everything should go just fine. Are you ready?" "Yes." She chirps, bravely holding out her arm. I triple-check to make sure Nora's Vrothizotooth edge isn't currently active. We don't want to be cutting soul bits here. The Ozoid has its own natural process for that, and lop off exactly enough to make a new baby girl. Just add soul. Which is, of course, what I do, pulling out Angelian's soul and nestling it carefully into the new body. She's gonna be back. She's gonna wake up. I'm super excited. I probably shouldn't be, I guess. It'll likely take her a few days to interpret her new senses and learn to understand language with her new body and stuff like that, but still. She's alive. She's alive. And almost immediately, she starts silently screaming in panic. Angelian's new liquid body starts moving erratically, her soul struggling to identify her new experiences as anything other than a nightmare. An all-consuming confusion grips her as she tries to move limbs that aren't there, breathe without lungs, and open non-existent eyes in a vain attempt to wake from what she must not believe is real. I freeze, not sure how to react to her sudden, existential agony. Is there something wrong? No, I don't think there are any problems with her body or soul. She just doesn't know how to handle suddenly being a news. She, doesn't look so hot, Penta says hesitantly. I don't answer. I don't know how to answer. My sister writhes on the ground. Vita? Penta presses. Hey, Vita, she is having a bad time there. Vita? Will she be okay if we wait? Will she figure things out? How long will it take? Minutes? Hours? Days? How much torture is an acceptable trade-off to reincarnation? Vita. Penta shouts. Hey, answer me. What should we do? I don't know. I snap back. You tell me. She. I don't want to kill her again. So you wanna leave her like this? I don't know. I feel my sister's soul start to cry, begging for help from anything that will listen. Is being a news really this bad? I asked Penta. Maybe. She hedges. I was born a news. My senses as an Ozoid are better than my original body. But I guess. She has no experience with that? It feels like being stuck in a dream, Melissa says softly. I remember that. It was bad. It was scary. For a long time. Just take her out, Penta says. That would kill Angelian, I remind her. It would return Angelian to the way she has been for the past 2 years, Penta says. Revival is possible. We already proved that. The only question is how, and there has to be a better way than this. Damn it, I hiss. Damn it. I reach into her hand, moments after bringing her back, I kill Angelian again. Tope continued. Thanks for listening.